Alright, good morning everyone. This is a small tutorial series, just because I decided to give my knowledge on current missile systems in space engineers back to the community. So this is going to be about maybe 8 or 9 parts, sort of talking about like the different types of warheads, the different types of guidance, propulsion, and how to set up like all the timer blocks and that sort of thing. So the very first thing that you're going to need for your missiles is something to mount them. In my case, I use my unified pylon system. So most of my light fighters, this is just a test bed, this one here. This is what I use to test all my missile launches. They have a series of merge blocks and connectors set up like so. So for example, is this missile, this fighter has 6 pylons. Each of them, there's 2 wingtip ones and 4 slung under the actual wing structure, all connected via connectors, and that's to allow hydrogen to flow into the missile, so you can refuel it while this is on the ground. Now, actually, in the aircraft, you can see, like on my second tab there, I've got 6 different hotkeys, each corresponding to a pylon. So pylon 1 is like the one on like the very, actually, I should be able to just change it a little bit. So that's pylons 3 and 4 back there. So if I, or 3, 4, no, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so the one on the left is 4, the one on the middle is 5, and then the one on the wingtip is 6. So I can press 4, I can press 5, and I can press 6, and you can see all of those turn off. Now, there's a couple different ways that you can do this system. This is my preferred way of doing it. Physically turning off the pylons, and then you physically turn off the pylons, and then the missile will self-launch from that state. Now, you can do it like if you have like a timer block on the missile, and you have like like you effectively fire the missile from the missile instead of firing the missile from the ship. Um, the problem I find with that is the hard points aren't like modular. So if you say have like an air-to-ground missile with a timer block, and you fire it and you load up an air-to-air missile, you're not going to have that like the control for that missile in the hotbar anymore because you fire the missile, it's gone. So that's why I prefer like physically controlling the pylons, and it does give you a fair bit more flexibility with like all the stuff you can mount. So if I go into my blueprints and I type pylons, I've got what's that? Air-to-air missile. That one's proxy fused. Air-to-air missile. That's impact fused. Anti-capital ships. I've got a drop tank. I've got air-to-ground missile. GPS guided. A big ass cannon. Again, that's just done on a pylon. Unguided bombs. Again, same pylon. Everything in there is connected to this pylon system. So no matter what hardpoint you load on this fighter here, you can always fire it because you're using the system. So that is the one that I would recommend, but you can do the other one. That being said, let's talk about how to actually mount the missile. So I usually use a setup like this, just like a rotor conversion thing. I always turn the rotor off and I set the torque really high so it won't be moving. And what I'll start with doing is we will build something to basically hook into this mounting system. So in this case here, it's I tend to vary it a bit when I'm actually building these missiles, like what I like to do. But in this case, I think I want to build a mounting. Actually, I only need one to mount. Okay. Sorry, I'm just a little bit all over the place. I haven't taught like anything for quite a while. Um, anyway, so we've sort of got like the mount there. That's like you can basically just attach the missile to this mount and then fire it by like either turning it off or disabling it. That's the way I like to do it. And then I'll usually build the missile on the ground. So in this case here, I do like a different order from what I want to like actually teach today. So it does make it like a little bit more challenging because I'm going against like what I will go because it's all just down to muscle memory for me at this point. So I'll usually build the engine first, but in this case here, I'm just going to be building the launch unit first. So the first thing we'll need for our launch unit is it's Alt and scroll wheel to bring it back, isn't it? To move this thing. Jesus Christ. What a terrific start. Alt control scroll wheel, sorry. That's embarrassingly bad, to be honest. Okay. Alright. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna drop a connector and we're gonna need something to connect to the connector. So we're gonna need a conveyor port and we're gonna get our merge block as well. So this is all we need to get started with our mounting system. So what we'll do is we will slap the merge block on the side. It is important. I'll actually just put a piece of armor there just so I can hook the merge block on. All right, good start. Good start. I'll put the connector on first. All right, and now the light arm block and the merge block on. Actually, I didn't even need the light arm block. That's all temporary. So this is our mount here. So you can see that's going to line up. So the merge block is going to be facing towards the front of the missile. The connector is out towards the back. And you do need that. You need some sort of conveyor on the connector. This is just going to be like a very, very generic setup for basically any sort of missile. So what we'll do now is, because this is just sort of a test video, there's two event controllers that you're going to need for this setup here. So I'm just going to stick a battery on it. This is not going to be like a refined missile. I don't have any plan going into this. I'm just trying to make it work. And I'm going to get two event controllers. So we're going to place one here, and we're going to call this event conlock. And what we want this to do basically is when we are welding up the missile using like a welding ship or something like that, we want this to automatically connect our connector. So we don't need to manually do it, and it'll fill the missile automatically with hydrogen. So in this case here, what we'll look for is block added / removed, that one there, and then select actions. So the first one is what happens when a block is added or removed. I'm actually not sure how the functionality for these two work for this one. I just know that the first one goes when a block is added or removed. So in this case here, when we place a block on the missile, what we want to do is lock our first connector. So down the bottom here, we've got lock. So if we say place a, what we'll do is we'll place a merge block there. And I think it should automatically try and connect it. It's going to be a little bit hard to place this connector, I think. Oh no, there we go. So now when I add a block to this subgrid, hopefully it should go green, which it does. Okay, so we know that works. Perfect. Because we don't have this event controller here set to lock / unlock, it won't be like turning on and off as you weld up the missile. So I'm just going to get rid of this. We know this works now. The second event controller that we're going to do is going to be dictating the actual launch of the missile. In this case here, it's going to be when that merge block disconnects. So with this pylon system here, I don't turn off the connector. I just turn off the merge block and the missile handles everything else. So in this case here, what we'll do is we're going to put a second event controller on. Again, this is not set up well. This is just purely basically a proof of concept. And control panel, and we're going to call this event missile fire. The event that we want to use is merge block on off, because we do have a merge block there. Merge block merged, and we're going to select small merge block too. You should get into a habit of renaming these, and in fact I'm going to do those now. So missile connector, this is going to be missile battery, missile merge, Perfect. All right. So now we've got our second event controller there set to when that merge block disconnects. So we can go into it and we can start working out what we need to turn on and off to get the missile to properly disconnect and then kick into gear. In this case here, just because we were worried about the mounting system today, what we're going to do is, and this is like when the merge block is disconnected. So in this case, it's the NOT. So when it is connected, it will activate slot 1. When it isn't connected, it's going to activate slot 2 there. So in this case here, this merge block goes off. Now, since we've connected this connector already, we need to turn this connector off as well. So we're going to unlock the connector. And we've got, if you go hold control and press like 1 through 9, you've got like 8 other slots to do things with. So that should be good now. So what we can do is we're going to test it out. So I always copy it and then flip it around. So the merge block's facing in here. I'm going to place a connector. And we're going to see if this grid connects, which it should. Bang. All right, so you can see the connectors linked up, and what that's going to do is enable the fuel line. And now, I'm just going to use this event controller on the other side here. What we're going to do is we're going to test that event controller there by disconnecting or turning off the merge block. So when the merge block turns off, what we should see happen is the connector there will turn off as well. So if we go small merge block, because missile merge is the one on the missile, we don't want to turn that one off. We want to turn off our merge block so we can control it all via the aircraft. So if we turn that off, you can see the connector drops as well. So we know that event control is working. And that is pretty much going to sum up what I sort of wanted to talk about in this video. I'm going to try and get one of these out per day. In the next one, I'm going to be talking about like the initial propulsion, talking a bit about the thrust override and how you want to disconnect the missile, and then you don't want it to fire automatically. You don't want, like, if you're like dropping it off like a pylon on the left side of your aircraft, you don't want to drop the missile, it immediately veers off to the right and blows up your aircraft. You don't want that. So there's a couple of little ways that you can basically manage how the missile launches so that it can safely and effectively disconnect from the aircraft. With that being said, that's all I've got for you fine people today. So hopefully you enjoyed, hopefully you learned something new, and I'll catch you later.